What's happening, Miles?
93, Brian. 93.
93?
Yep.
What's 93?
Oh, sorry. I didn't prep you for this. But
No, I mean, we don't prep each other for anything.
93 subscribers, man. That's all you need for the big 100,000.
Oh, Jesus. That's right. Yeah, 93 more. That makes sense. It's right around the corner, man. And it's, in the back of my mind, it's sort of always just been sitting there being like, hey, 100K is on its way, 100K is on its way. And then today when we crossed the 99.9 line, I was like my heart started to palpitate. I'm not ready for this.
Well, if it's coming too fast, we can get everyone right now to unsubscribe, give you a bit more of a buffer. Do you want to stretch out a bit? Or
no, give me a few more days, guys. Everyone unsubscribe. We'll see in a few more days. Yeah, and you never want to come too fast, Miles. I was a little slow on that, but
whoa, yeah, it's gonna be one of those shows, huh?
It's always one of those shows, isn't it?
It's always one of those shows, Brian.
Nice. Thank you for being here, Miles. In the absence of young Wesley, we're going to trudge on without him. However, since it's not a West day, we are light on news today. If Wes was here, we'd be fucking drowning. Let's do this thing. You ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. This is PSVR GAMESCAST Live. We film live every single Monday, Wiseday. I don't know what we're going to call it today. And Two Eyes Friday right here on Without Parole. We do it live 6 p.m. Eastern for your viewing pleasure on YouTube. For all those people who like to watch with your eyes. If you like to watch with your ears, then we do some podcast services of your choice as well. Timestamps get added in by our good friend after the fact. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, thank you for doing that. My name is Brian Pop, and this channel right here, PSVR Without Parole. Yes, that's true. Home of the Game Cats, about to hit 100K. We're almost here. And to my left, to your right, it's Miles Dyer from youtube.com/Miles.
Brian, what up, Game Cats? Happy Wednesday. It's good to be here. I'm buzzing, man. I'm buzzing. Brian knows. Some of you know, because today has been quite a good day for me when it comes to live streaming, because every type of live stream I do in my life has all happened on the same day. I was producing a webinar at work, which went good. I then did a Let's Play, because Brian reminded me I was able to do a Let's Play of the 7th Guest VR today, as opposed to tomorrow. So I got on that, had a good time with that. We'll be talking about that later. Then it was my Miles Dyer live show, where we just played an hour-long game of Would You Rather.
Did I miss any good ones? I mean, obviously, I don't want you to spoil the show. I should go back and watch it. There was a few that got some good giggles. There was one that I'm already giggling, and I don't even know.
It was animal related. I'll leave it there.
Probably for the best.
And now it's PSVR Without Parole, and we've got lots of cool things to talk about. And in between all those things, I had to jump into some games and try them out, all the updates and stuff. And it's amazing, man. Just October, and we got this 100,000 subscribers. I'm one subscriber away from 48K for the 100th time this year.
Should I finally pull the trigger and subscribe to your channel,
dude? Why not? Because do it.
After the show.
After the show, all right. Yep. Okay.
YouTube.com/Miles, you guys. Go help him out. Let's get him across that 48K line once and for all. And really not for Miles, but for my sake. I'm tired of hearing this conversation. It's been months of him saying, I hit 48K. No. I hit 48K again. No.
Yeah.
We need to have new conversations. Please, for the love of God, subscribe to Miles.
But I do think it is off the back of just a lot of great live streams the past week, because of a great variety of games, including Propagation Paradise Hotel, Tennis on Court, despite the issues that it had. There's a lot of curiosity. The 7th Guest VR. there's just a lot of variety of VR games this month, and it's exciting. I think it's just a very special month for VR gamers.
I agree. It's been a great month so far. We've got a great month ahead. I've been talking to everybody who I need to talk to about game keys, and like I'm a little nervous because for the last couple of weeks, like every between every episode of GAMESCAST, there was always something.
Whoa! Tornado.
Yep. I don't know where my mouse is. I have no idea what
your
you
mouse
guys
is.
I have no idea what you guys are seeing on screen right now. She just kind of fucked up.
Cat
everything.
got the mouse. Cat got the mouse. Well, while Brian does that,
my keyboard almost went flying.
Now a word from our sponsors. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. Oh, everything seems to be fine. Everything seems fine. All right. Wow. I love when she comes up and visits me, but man, she lost her balance and kicked the keyboard and everything went everywhere.
Outrageous.
Yeah, man, we got a lot of great games ahead of us. What I was saying was I'm actually nervous right now because I don't have any keys for any upcoming games, and I'm like, somebody send me something to work on. Like I just need to be making progress on something because it's a nerve-wracking month. There's a lot of games on the way, and like I just need to be doing something right now. So hopefully I'll wake up and have what I need tomorrow, but we shall see. We shall see.
It'll happen.
Where the hell did the mouse pad is just missing? Like that was fast.
Mouse pads. Who needs them?
Yeah,
those are so 2000s
for real. But it's got the little cushion for my wrist, so I don't get carpal tunnel. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Good point.
Yeah. All right. Now that we're putting shit back together here and getting the show back up and running, let's make sure we don't miss any tips. We're gonna start the show with the super cool video bro tip. $10. Thank you very much. He said, busted out my OG and confirmed my suspicion. No sweet spot, just clear. Low FOV resolution and bad tracking, but all is clear. Why do I have trouble with glare and blur in VR? Don't they have the same lenses? I don't know, man. I don't know. He says no sweet spot. I remember struggling with my PSVR 1 when I first got it and struggling to find the sweet spot. I'd be like tilting it one way and tilting it the other way and then pushing the whole thing forward and back. But just like PSVR 2 or just like PSVR 1, eventually you get to the point where you're like, and
that's it.
You don't have to do any adjustment. Like you throw it on and you're just there. So I feel like the sweet spot issue people were having was very much a launch issue, and I feel like it's not an issue for me whatsoever anymore, like not even remotely. So that's crazy to hear that. Super cool video, bro.
It's remarkable to think that the PSVR didn't have movable lenses. I mean, obviously it didn't. It was a first generation headset, but the idea of not being able to move the lenses from left to right, is something that's one of many things that's very easy to take for granted with where VR is now. You know,
when PSVR 1 was new, I knew nothing about VR, and so what you would do with that for the the IPD, would you take a picture of your eyes with the PlayStation camera, and then put the little crosshairs, oddly enough, in the center of your pupils, and so that way the PlayStation knew how far away your eyes were. But I never questioned, what is that doing? Is that doing something internally in the PSVR headset? Is that doing something in the PlayStation itself? Like, without being able to move the lenses manually, was it doing something internally? I've never asked this question because I've never even thought to ask it before. So, yeah, I mean, we've got a smart audience. I'm sure somebody can fill me in on that. Living Legend with Canadian $5 tip says, happy Spooktober, Game Lions. Brian,
Spooktober.
Is your house haunted? Yeah, extremely haunted. I used to have a lot of issues here, and this is going to sound really fucking weird. I sat down and talked to them all. Like, this is how bad shit got. Like, shit got really bad here, to the point where, like, I woke up and saw demons in my house. You can all unsubscribe now. Because Brian's fucking crazy, and I literally had to like sit down and have a talk, and I had to tell everybody that they had to go, that they were no longer welcome here, and it's been eerily quiet since then. This was months ago, yeah, but for years years. Like shit would just like my fruit basket would just swing randomly. I would see things out of the corner of my eye. I told a lot of stories about my apartment. One of the scariest ones, one of the strangest ones was when I was playing Doom VFR with my aim controller, and something had grabbed the front of it and pulled. And I was like, well, there's no one here. I lifted the headset. I was like, I literally thought that someone had come into my apartment and was fucking with me. Like my ex has a key, and I fully assumed that's who it was.
When you asked them to leave, Brian, was it a please leave?
Well,
or was it more of a get the F out?
So as you know, Miles, and I kind of didn't want to go down this route, but we're going to go down briefly because, living legend, we respect you and want you to know the full story. As you guys know, a lot of people in my life have passed away over the years, and I feel like I've been collecting ghosts as I go through my life. And so I just had to be like, by name, literally said out loud, I called out Dave by name and Josh by name and Danny by name and Andrew by name. And just everybody. I said, if any of you are still here, you need to go. And dude, I know this is a fucking weird ass story, but it worked. I was like, I love you all so much, but you're ruining my life. And it's driving me insane. And then they left.
Man, I got chills.
I'm tearing up because it was hard to do, saying goodbye to people for so final. It's so final. Wow, did not expect to go down this route today, guys. Fifth with the Australian $5 tip says, "Hi, Miles, the Destroyer." I didn't even read the rest of this tip yet, but I love how it started. Hi, Miles, the Destroyer. Brian, what scores would you give Village, Cosmodread, and Propagation today? Exactly the same scores that I gave them prior. I think Cosmodread, I always thought that I had overrated. I was like, oh man, I want to give this I can't give it a 9, but it's as close as I can possibly get. I was at 8.9 was going to be too much. And every time I go back to it, I'm like, nope, this game fucking deserves that. And Propagation, obviously, I just reviewed it. My thoughts haven't changed. And I still think Village, getting a AAA game, full-fledged flat screen game with all the mechanics that you would want in a game, brought over as well as they could possibly do it into VR. Yep. All right, man. So listen, dude, we have, first of all, we have a shitload of games to talk about today. We have a lot of updates to talk about. One of the things I want to get out of the way before the show really starts is a conversation about Box to the Beat, because Box to the Beat dropped unexpectedly on the PlayStation Store recently, this week, just a couple days ago. Wait, was it yesterday? Who knows? But I cannot keep up. And
wow.
And I've been downplaying it a little bit, almost as a joke. But I really do want a good fitness game, because on PSVR 1, I played a lot of box VR. We got in there with multiplayer, we were actually doing it religiously, on a schedule with friends. We were all getting in there, and I felt like I was doing some really good stuff for myself. And I need something like that on PSVR 2. And so I was actually oddly hopeful for this. You can check it out for yourself because there's a demo. But I'm going to tell you right now, I wouldn't even bother playing the demo. This thing is blurry, and just the haptics are terrible. I swear, when you punch a block, you feel the haptics a half a second after you expected it. It doesn't make any sense. It needs a lot of work. It's blurry. It's blurrier than a PSVR 1 game. It's weird. And the announcer is super fucking annoying. Insanely annoying. And
doesn't that motivate you to punch harder?
I mean, if he had a physical figure in the game, I'd be beating the crap out of him constantly because he's that annoying.
Wow. And just for clarification, this wasn't on PSVR. No, this is. It's been on other platforms, but it's never been on PSVR. It
literally just came to. I believe it just came to other platforms in the last couple months.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong about that, but I think it's a fairly new game. So save your money.
And what you said about the syncing of the haptics with the music is something I find really interesting about VR, because when it comes to rhythm games, I remember Guitar Hero and that. The latency between your television, the audio, and obviously, the guitar that you're playing on and that, you'd have to go through those setups to do it. But I just find that when it comes to VR, Beat Saber doesn't have a setup because they know this is the console and this is the headset. They know what the latency, unless I'm oversimplifying, they're going to know what the latency is because people aren't using TV screens. They're using a headset that has the same screen and specifications in it, right? So that's why something like Beat Saber doesn't need setup, which was why I got confused when I played like Ragnarok, a game I absolutely love, but it wasn't in sync, and I had to go through a setup process and when you have to set it up yourself, that's not always going to be perfect because it depends on how perfect you are at hitting stuff during the setup process. So that's something that's always confused me when it comes to these rhythm games. My feeling is, and I'd love devs to correct me, there shouldn't be any latency issues because they're all made for the same console, they're all made for the same headset, and thus the same screen. But
I mean, you know, as not a developer, I don't have a good answer for you.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, you can skip Box to the Beat. Again, there is a demo, so feel free to check it out for yourself, but do not recommend it. I will do fucking for anybody who's not going to check it out. I do need to tell you this. I played the tutorial, and right after I played the tutorial, I was actually looking around at the menu screen, and over here on my left, there was a big egg. And I was like, I wonder what that's about. And I was like touching it, pushing it, hitting it. I don't know, nothing, right? And then over here on my right, there was somebody like shadow boxing or like pretending they were gonna punch me. Like and I just went boom. I just did this little tap, and they fell down and died. Like, just done. And I was like, that's weird. That's weird. And so then I played a song, and I guess whatever I had done in that song was enough to hatch the egg. And I had a little baby dragon, and I was like, I've got a little baby dragon. And I got up close and like, yeah.
What game's this?
Box to the Beat. Don't worry. Don't worry. You didn't miss. Yeah, we didn't conversation jump. We didn't topic.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the same topic. This is the same game. We're still on Box to the Beat. There's a little baby dragon sitting there on a pedestal, and I was like, and it's so cute. And I was like, oh my god, do I get to collect dragons in this game? And so I kind of crouched down to because I was like, can I pick him up? And the second I touched him, he died and hit the floor. Like, what is this game's issue with me touching things and killing them? Like,
wow,
this guy over here, this little dragon over here. So I kind of want to keep playing just to find out what's the deal with the dragon, but I don't know.
Wow. I'm curious now. I mean, I'm going to have to do a Let's Play of it, so I'll find out sooner or later.
Yeah, you will. You will find out sooner or later, because you're on a mission to play every PSVR2 game ever made. Yeah. Let's see.
I've just hit 91 games, I think. 91 games.
Wow.
Still many more to go.
I wonder how many I've reviewed. I'll do a count. It's got to be over 30, 40? I don't know.
Yeah.
For PSVR2. Still a long way to go to get caught up.
Yeah.
Let's see. Living Legend with the Canadian $5 tip says, sorry for your losses, Brian. Didn't mean to bring this up. No, thank you. Like, it's, you guys are my friends. Like, this is therapeutic, and I'm not going to therapy, so I'm just using you guys. Let's be fair. I appreciate
the perks.
Yeah, I feel like my life has been pretty open. I really haven't held much back from you guys over the years. So I'd rather do it here than anywhere else. Super cool video, bro, with the $2 tip says, even if it's just me, in regards to the PSVR 1, he says the OG is still worth it for games. I'm 100% with you. I'm glad mine's still hooked up. We saw Wes play Here They Lie the other day, yes. And the developers were in the chat. One of them joined them later on in the like with audio and shit. So like it's a great stream. If you like Here They Lie, you should go check that out. But yeah, it's like, games like that, like we just might never. We might just never see that again, because I mean I didn't watch the stream in its entirety. I just watched the beginning of it. So I don't know what they said about bringing it to PSVR2, but these guys have gone on to do other things. And I don't think anyone is interested in bringing Here They Lie to PSVR2. So you don't want to let those games die. You want to always be able to play those. So, yep. Izzard with the $2 says, you need a Shane, Brian. Yep, I do. That's in response to BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed's Supernatural and the Watcher, Shane and Ryan, the Ghost Hunters. I do, in fact, need a Shane. Although I think everyone in my life is more of a Shane. compared to me especially. Salvador with the $2 tip says, Miles the GOAT for all the streams today.
The goat was the animal in the Would You Rather, but I'm not saying anything more.
I don't even know where to go with this.
Yeah. But I'll take that as a compliment, but no more talking about goats.
All right, Miles, let's talk about some tennis then, because as you all know, I reviewed Tennis on Court. We had it for a few days before it came out, and I played the crap out of it. I probably spent way more time with that game than anyone else has so far. And it didn't review well. I give it a 3.5. There were a ton of problems with it. And it sounds like when I talked to Perp, they were surprised by these things. Now, in their defense, within, I think by the time it released, is this right, Miles? By the time it released, it got a patch that addressed a bunch of the shit that I'd complained about in my review.
They delayed the release by, I think it was like hours. Yeah. Like it was delayed that day. But yeah, the devs were on it. They were very honest. I did a Let's Play on launch day, and the devs were in there talking about everything they were working on. And they were incredibly transparent, which was there were issues with the dev build, and that they want to make it right. So look, there's two parts to this. It's unacceptable for a game to be released unfinished, and people in the community can feel like they're being taken for granted. All of that is completely justified and understandable.
Right.
But it can also be true that we give credit to devs that don't hide away, don't just not respond to people and just put it out there and don't care. That actually come forward and say, we need to fix this, and we're going to do everything we can. And I've got to give them props for that.
So something must be up though, because we've seen how long it takes for, I don't know, Green Hell to go in and fix their game. We've seen how long it takes for Firewall to go in and fix their game. We've seen how long these things take. And so when I've got a laundry list of complaints and say, hey, the difficulty doesn't ramp up on the tournaments like it's supposed to. I wish I had a list of all my pros and cons right now.
Well, it was voice chat.
Voice chat was all blown out. Yep.
Yep. As you say, the difficulty scaling, it was getting points given at the wrong time.
Yes. Especially online. Yep.
Latency issues.
I had that issue where I hit the net and the ball was still in play. So and so I got a message from Mickey, the CEO over at Perp Games, and said, our team is taking tomorrow to focus on your review and go through point by point and fix these things, and they did. And so here's what I don't understand. How did they fix all of those things, patch a ton of the bugs and get everything working and implement difficulty into the tournaments when these other, and they did it all within a 24-hour span of time. Like, I just don't understand. Like, how did they manage to do that?
Something I don't know if you tested, Brian, because I did test it, but I think the patch may have already kicked in at that point.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty, did you ever play a 1v1 AI custom match on Pro? Because I'm wondering if the difficulties worked on that, in which case the difficulty scaling was there. It's just it hadn't been turned on using the worst. And so they were like, there's a glitch, like that should be scaling. I mean, that's, I think, pretty much what they said was it should scale up. And that's not them sort of getting rid of ownership of the issue. They were just like, no, that should be fixed. So I think it is something that in the code they could have just said it wasn't scaling and that's fixable. But yeah,
well,
that could be one thing.
Listen, the fact is that they went in and they fixed a ton of issues. Obviously there's still a ton more issues to fix, but I haven't had a chance, having spent like 20 hours doing that review. I haven't had a chance because I was working on the 7th guest to go and get back in there and see what they had fixed and see how I feel about it now. But you have, Miles. In fact, I believe you streamed it, right?
Yeah. So I played. I was hopefully going to complete the tournaments before they patched it.
USA.
Yeah. You did well.
Yeah, I get the trophy in like fucking like 2 hours. It took me just to blast through all of them because they were crazy easy.
Yeah, so there are 4 tournaments. and I did this second difficulty one on my lunch break, and I quickly went to get a drink while I was on the last match. I think there are 5 rounds. And I came back, and the menu, it says like return or return to menu. It's very similar wording. And I clicked return to menu. The game does not say, are you sure you want to leave? It just loaded out, and that was it. I'd lost all my progress on that, which I replayed again on the Let's Play. But I actually went on realistic mode against a pro on just the regular like 1v1 match, just to give it a go. I got my ass handed to me. So when I'm serving in a game, I don't know if this is something to do with what level you're playing on as well. The fastest I could serve was 120 kilometers an hour. And when I was doing a pretty heavy hit, it was going at that speed. When I really hit it hard, it was still doing that speed. So I felt like it was being capped. But when I was playing on Pro, they were doing 130 plus. Because during my live stream, there were some people who were tennis fans saying, oh, this feels like you're playing in space and stuff like that. And like just saying it just feels very floaty when playing on Pro mode. Okay, that is fast. That is really fast and really difficult.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And what the dev said in the chat at the time was, you can play realistic mode, but you can then still in-game put on the assists, like the assist of when to hit the ball, where to be positioned and stuff, as a transition. So you want to play realistic mode, but instead of just being thrown in the deep end, you can still have these things to help you get your positioning right. And this is my biggest love about the game, is there are options. There are so many options of ways to play. I like the fact that they don't just have teleportation and they have manual movement. They have automatic, where it moves you to each position. I think that's a really smart thing. And why I felt so conflicted when we were playing it in the lead up to your review, and I think you reflected on it perfectly in the review, was the core gameplay is great. Like when you're hitting the ball, you get that faint feeling of like feeling the strings on the racket vibrate. And, if you're doing a full swing, you're going to hit the ball well. If you've got your racket close to your body, you're not going to have the swing that you need. And then it's just going to go against the net. All of that was great, which is what made it so frustrating. And this is what I said to the devs in the chat. If this was just a terrible game through and through and the mechanics were rubbish, we'd be like, yeah, it's a terrible game, don't play it. But for me, it was like, I can't recommend this now. Wait for the patches and let's see. But the thing I still don't know about, because when I last played it, some of the patches had come through, but multiplayer, it hadn't been launched yet. I actually believe it did actually get launched like within the hour after my Let's Play, which was weird timing. But I do want to go back into multiplayer. They did tell me that the issue with the animations, because they're all these like, they're animations that, whether you're playing single player or multiplayer, it's not recording your arm movements. It's if you hit the ball. So there was a time where I smashed the ball, and then on the replay, my character's just doing a normal swing. And that is difficult for multiplayer, as we've mentioned before, because when you're playing a game of tennis, which is high speed, you want to be able to see where your opponent is looking, where their arms are, because then you can get a sense of, are they going for a backhand or are they going for a forward swing? Because all that happens is players run up to the ball and you have no sense of what they're about to do. And then it does the animation for a forward hand or backhand. And for multiplayer, that's just incredibly difficult. The dev said there are always give and takes when it comes to having a high frame rate with a high speed game like tennis, and then how much different motions that you have and things that you're tracking. I accept that, but that doesn't take away from the fact that for multiplayer to be the awesome experience I think it could be, it needs to have that recorded motion.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like it's not like we've never had games like this before in VR. We've had plenty of 1v1 games. Spark captured all of our motions, and listen, this game's still got a ways to go. I remember when I first started playing, I was like, this is basic, but it's fine. This is a 6 out of 10 tennis game. And then the more I played, the deeper I went, the more issues I encountered. It sounds like it's, getting back up to the 6 out of 10, but it's still not there yet because of obviously I think most people are going to want to play this multiplayer, and I don't think we can recommend that yet because of those animations, because of the delay. But we'll certainly keep an eye on it. I did see Mr. Musicali in the chat say that this was by design, that like you release a broken product and then you fix it and then you get praised, and this was intentional. I'll tell you this. That review's not getting changed for a while. So if it was by design, then they fucked it up, because they get praise on a GAMESCAST that like a few thousand people watch, but that review is going to have 20,000-30,000 views by the end of the year, and it's going to stay at 3.5. And it's like I'm sorry, I don't have the time to update my reviews with every patch that comes out. I just don't have the time to do it. So if it was by design, then they certainly fucked it up.
And I don't buy it either. And look, obviously they can be very good liars and that, but I think about there's a lot of times where I've fortunate done a let's play just before launch. I remember doing it for VR Skater, and I had the devs in the chat getting the patches ready for day one, and they're working their asses off. Like, it's game design is not easy. And again, this is not making excuses. Things should be launched when they're ready. Absolutely agree. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just sort of counterbalancing it, which is both things can be true. It can be both unacceptable that things are released in a state that is not good, but it can also be the case that the devs are working their asses off trying to get things as good as they can. Things get missed and they try and rectify it. Yep. But at the end of the day, we keep saying, don't pre-order games, wait for reviews to come out, and that's how you're going to protect yourself. And as I've said, I think Tennis on Court it was one of my most anticipated games of the year. Not from overhype, but just I like the idea of playing a tennis game with friends. Mm-hmm. The core mechanics are fun to play. It is fun to play in single player, but for it to have longevity, it needs to have a solid multiplayer. Which, again, I've not played it since the patches, so I need to wait and see on that. But it's got to be a lot better than our experience.
Well, Miles, a game that is actually getting better with every single patch is a game that we jumped into yesterday. Just got a brand new patch. It's Galaxy Kart by VR Monkey.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay, so first of all, I want to give a shout out to the people we played with. We played with Orseek the Game Cat. We played with Awesome Tatum. We played with Elephant Trap, Spectrum Rum, and Aceville. So it was also me and Miles. Now, if you're doing your math over there, that's 7 people. We were also surprised because I started a lobby, and first of all, it's so easy to get into a multiplayer game now. I created a lobby, and it said, "You want to start a lobby?" I said yes, and then like everyone just found me by my username. It's super easy to do, and so I had just told everybody in the Galaxy Kart channel over on our Discord. I was like, "Hey, we need a couple extras to play Galaxy Kart," and so we thought we were going to max out when we hit 6. And then a 7th joined, and we're like, what? So part of this update apparently allows you to play with up to 8 people total, which is crazy because that was something I was going to request down the line at some point, being like, hey, the more people that can play this game, the better. So prior to the patch, it was a 6-player game. And now they don't even list this in the patch notes. Of all the things that they talk about that they upgraded with the game balancing and everything else and new maps, they don't even mention this. You can now play this game with up to 8 players. Pretty cool. But
I was impressed. All I'd played of Galaxy Kart was when it first came out, and it was blurry.
Yes.
There was no real sense of speed, and I felt there's something here. But also you had to complete a track on all 4 difficulties to unlock the next one, and it was just I played it. I thought this is all right. I kind of like it, but nah. So having come back to the game all this time later, it's like day and night. I had so much fun, and like I think about going back into it again.
Yeah.
Playing the different maps, seeing the different characters with their abilities, and just having fun. Just the shenanigans that you have with playing a kart game like this. It was really, really, really good. There were glitches that we had which have been patched since, which I've not been into. So like the sound wasn't working at times. Although I played it again, I did play it a bit afterwards, and I think the haptics, like the rumble in the headset when you go through boxes, which is amazing. There were items like on the map, like bouncing balls in the carnival or circus one that wasn't actually working, or fire coming out the ground on the pizza level. So yeah, I love it now. Really, really, really good. My only question is, and I'd love it if any game cats out there can tell me, or the devs who I do believe are tuning into this show, they were saying so on Twitter, is how do you unlock the new characters? Because it says you've got to complete the campaign, and I quickly whiz through all the campaign on easy.
I need you, so on easy. Okay, so the way that you unlocked stuff when the game first came out was by playing through on easy, which unlocked the medium. Then you play through on medium, and you unlock the medium. Then you play through on hard, and unlocks the hard. So did you go through all of that? And okay, I'm assuming
I've only completed them all on easy. So yeah, I am going to go back and complete them on all the more difficult modes.
I'm assuming that's what you got to do. So I'm gonna be doing that as well, because I haven't unlocked anything. I was playing multiplayer, didn't get anything done really. But dude, the 2 new courses, I will say this: the 4 that we had already were pretty decent. I think the 2 new ones are fantastic. I love the carnival one. I think the color scheme in that is great, and then the food one is great. These things have shortcuts in them that you keeping an eye out for. There's traps everywhere to watch out for. And man, and just playing multiplayer is a blast. Everyone that I played with, we were all having a good time. We're always laughing when we play this, and shit talking. Like I don't shit talk a lot when I play games. I'm just in there like, let's play something casually, co-op, whatever. But it's so much fun to shit talk in something like this, because you know full well that when you shoot somebody and stun them, that it's all going to come back at you like tenfold. Like seconds later, you're going to be in last place. And so it's just funny to shit talk in a game like this, where you just know it's pointless.
Yeah, there are a couple of mechanics we talked about seeing, obviously from Mario Kart and stuff like that. So we talked about the bullet, if you're really far behind, is there something to help you catch up? And also, is there some kind of item that tracks player one? Because sometimes player one is just so far out ahead. Yeah. I feel like for those people that are either really far back in last place or really far ahead in first place, it'd be cool to have some mechanics. And also, I don't know how you feel about the balancing between the different abilities of the 3 main characters, because I find that the gravity gun is just OP. It's very easy to aim, whereas the hook for the pirate is quite difficult to aim. And then the ketchup for the hot dog, that just makes people skid behind you, I'm guessing.
But see, the thing is, I think all of them are kind of OP. Once you get the hang of them,
sure.
The hook for the pirate is I mean, it's good. It's so versatile. You can hook it onto another character and pull yourself up to them, or pull them back to you, or you can hook it onto the environment.
Oh, you can? Okay.
Yeah, and use it as like just a ramp where a ramp doesn't exist type thing, and just shoot yourself up into the air and go flying over half the course. So it's all about learning to use them. But this is, keep in mind that when we're raving about this thing, it's still very much a budget kart racer, but it's the only one we have on PSVR2, and every single time they update the game, it gets way better. I've asked about getting this up to 90 frames per second native, because it's running right now at 60 reprojected, or 120 reprojected, sorry. And, it's fine, but to truly deliver that sense of speed and immersion, I think we have to be running this at 90. And it's not the type of game that looks so good that you're like, oh, that would be impossible. So I definitely asked, and I'm hoping that they can make that happen. Also, we're getting wheel support and a couple more tracks in the coming months. So
this is the kind of game like Walkabout Mini Golf, which is if you really nail the core mechanics and make a really fun game, it's something that has so much longevity, because you can just keep adding tracks to it. and giving reasons for people to keep checking back. New characters, new maps, new modes. Like if they had like tournament modes, where you do like 3 maps and then you get points based on what. I'd love that in a racing game. GT7 doesn't even have that. That was one of my biggest criticisms of GT7 is when you play Gran Turismo 7 with friends, like go-karting or anything, you would love to set up 5 races back to back, and depending on where you rank, you get points. And then at the end of the 5 tracks, you then find out who's won overall, as opposed to just everything being individual. Now, obviously, that's something definitely long down the line. But my point is, I think this has a lot of legs or a lot of wheels to really succeed.
Yeah, I agree. I see some good comments going on in the chat here. I saw Dan Keeper says, a budget VR game. Now you're just messing with me. It's like, that's a good point. I just don't want people being like, oh, Brian recommended this, and thinking that they're getting Mario Kart VR, or let's be honest, even Dash Dash World VR, because Dash Dash has had so much longer time in the oven and felt a little bit more polished, and the track design was a little bit better. And who the fuck knows what happened to Dash Dash? So. Vince Virtuous said, with foveated rendering, it might do the 90 hertz. We've been talking to developers who shall not be named, and they're basically saying that in Unity, flipping a switch it's literally as easy as flipping a switch, turning on the dynamic foveated rendering, and just seeing your frame rates blast through the roof. And so it's like anybody who's not doing it, no excuse, because we see it happening in Unreal, and we know that it can be done in Unity. So get that shit happening, you guys. All of our PSVR2 games can look amazing. So,
and I just want to reassure the chat that my intention is not just to play it on easy mode. It was just a quick lunch break of blasting through the campaign levels. I do actually want to get through the full game, because I think one of the trophies is to complete all the maps on all the difficulties and stuff. And initially, when the game first came out, you completed it on all the 4 difficulties, didn't you?
Galaxy Kart, yeah. Yeah, and actually, people say they were struggling with that when it first came out, like before it had been patched, and they were saying it was like impossible. And people I know that I don't want to call out people by name, but I'm going to. I remember Nick Mulo, who's like our resident platinum trophy hunter, who kicks ass at every game, was like having some serious trouble with some really cheap AI, and so it wasn't easy to get through. I remember just grinding it out on one race in particular, and then as soon as I beat that one race, the rest of them worked fine. There was one AI that was not functioning properly. That would just kick your ass every time, unless you just nailed them with weapons constantly. So now it's been taken care of. The game is way more well balanced now. So, awesome. Here, let's take care of a couple tips, and we'll move on to our next story. We got. Donorama Pajama, the geeky game cat meow llama. I'm putting words in there now that I'll with the £5 says small closed betas might help studios find some of these issues ahead of release. There's so many people willing to help, so why not? I don't fucking know. That's a wonderful question. But also in a game like Tennis on Court, I can totally understand it when I see a game like Honor and Duty D-Day Enhanced, when Reggie's running beta after beta after beta, it's so hard to get 64 people together to play a game, so you kind of have to do it. But with Tennis on Court, 4 people, you need yourself and 3 other people. That's not a huge ask, right? So it's so testing it yourself is like how difficult is that? That's the confusion I have, is that how didn't they find all of these problems themselves? They must have been doing shit right up until the last minute and just didn't, a few things just kind of slipped under the radar. But I agree. There's no reason not to do betas. And one of these days, it's never going to happen, but I want it to happen. I want Sony to have an early access program. But that's a conversation for another day. Serial Killer, the Global Game Cat Day, with a $2 tip, says you're hitting 100,000 this week, possibly tomorrow. Woohoo! Yeah, man, it's crazy. Yep. We started the show talking about it, so we don't need to talk about it more. But it is crazy, and never thought I'd see the day. And extremely thankful for everyone who came along for the ride, and not just the viewers, all of the co-hosts along the way, man. We had everybody, man, volunteering their time and energy, going way back to the very beginning. We've been doing it for 9 years almost, so it's not like we caught fire at some point and shit was just smooth sailing. It's been a grind for 9 years to get to this point. So thank you everyone for being here. Miles, what are we talking about next? I don't have my run to show up.
Switchback.
Oh, dude, that's right. The Switchback Horde Mode came out today. Here, I think we've actually got footage of you playing it, which is a nice change of pace. We do. Oh, this is nice. There you are. Switchback Horde Mode. Interesting. Before we even talk about it, I guess we talk about how you have to download it. The game updates, and it's a big update. And then you also have to go to the store and purchase for free the Horde Mode update. So a little strange.
I know why this was done.
You know why this was done?
Yeah, I asked Alejandro, the creative director, about this. He was asking if I was going to be live streaming it, and I said I'll hopefully get some time, and that was why I sort of did the video. He said it was because they wanted it to be a proper DLC so it could have its own achievements. Because if you just update the game, you can't add trophies, I don't think.
Okay.
Or maybe that's... I'm trying to think. No Man's Sky does updates and then has... I'm not sure exactly. But yeah, they said it was also on the tech side with things. And this is something they'd been working on while working on that massive patch. So, they've been very, very busy. And he was teasing that there was something coming when I met him at Wiseday weeks and weeks. He couldn't stop smiling. He was clearly proud. He was proud of the patch that had launched, how good the game looked. And there was something coming. And honestly, I thought it could be DLC, but I was like, it could be something else. And yeah, I'm interested to hear your initial impressions. But all I'll say first is, before we get to the Horde, just jumping back into this game looks so good now. Just every time I go back in, I'm just like, it's night and day. When the patch first came out and I went in, I was like, how much better is this? It's so much better. It's so good. It's so immersive now. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, fuck the Horde Mode, man. Like, I gotta say, getting back into this and feeling the haptics straight off, like just raising the guns, it's like there's feeling in the sense controllers, just raising the guns up and down. And I was like, that's weird, but it feels right. So like, I'm like, I don't even know what they're doing to my brain, but like, it just makes me feel more like I'm holding something substantial. And then, you're going down the track, and you're feeling the tick 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 in the controllers themselves, and then you go down a huge drop, and you feel the whoosh, the of the air basically that's passing by you in the controllers. And I think this is all stuff that I said in my review initially, saying like, why don't we have that? This is a perfect opportunity. This would kill it with immersion. And they did it. And it's like fucking incredible. And like, it really feels so much more immersive now. The guns feel great. The reloads feel great. Like, the haptics make so much difference in a game like this that I was just blown away by that before I even really played the Horde Mode. So I was really, really happy seeing all the updates that this game has gotten since the last time I really checked it out. But the Horde Mode itself, what are we watching here, Miles? Explain to me how this works.
So I can't say too much because I didn't get that far in it. I was terrible at it. I had a couple of runs. So when you go into Horde Mode, firstly, what I'll say is when you select Horde Mode, it's based on the first world in Switchback, which I have to say, I know nothing, but I would assume this is going to be the first of many DLCs. I feel like they're going to do Horde modes for each of their worlds, from the fact that the only one you choose is for this beginning one. You get on the roller coaster to begin with, and you go on a fast roller coaster ride. Yeah, going side to side. It's really fast paced.
There wasn't a lot of that in the original campaign. Like there were moments, but it certainly wasn't anything like what we're seeing on screen right now. And so the big drops felt really, really good.
Yeah, it felt like Rush of Blood in terms of the speed and the adrenaline of that. And I know AJ said quite a lot about the same when he did his playthrough as well. But the flip side of it is every time you want to go back into Horde mode, you have to do that beginning bit again, which is only like, it's probably a minute or something like that. But sometimes I'm like, I just want to get straight back into it. But yeah, and so you then park up in this area, you're on the spot, you're not going anywhere, and you have waves and waves of enemies come for you. Once you clear the round, you then go on another fast roller coaster ride. You see on the screen a moment ago I missed one of the weapons, and I kept on saving the power up weapons, and that's the mistake. I should have kept using them because they do respawn. And the struggle I had actually was I wasn't reloading properly or as well as I could have done. I don't know why. I thought reloading is you bring your hands down. Am I wrong?
I think so, but fuck that shit. You can use the bottom face buttons on each of the controllers, and so I was just hitting those constantly.
Yeah, okay. It'd been a while since I played this, so I do need to jump back into this. But this game feels great. My issues with the main game was the slow pace of it all. There were great moments, but this feels like it's just like arcade to the max. They're coming at you non-stop. It's relentless. It's difficult. I think Alejandro told me one of the devs has got to round 6. So I'm curious to see how other people have done that have played it so far. But it's difficult. It's difficult.
I got to round 2. And and I will tell you, I kept lifting the headset up and asking my Echo Show what time it was, because we were getting dangerously close to GAMESCAST time, and so I was my heart wasn't really in it, because I knew I had to render out some footage. I didn't realize you'd sent me footage, and so like in order to prep for the show properly, I was just like whatever. And also, my arms were getting tired. Now, this is something that's different in Horde mode that I didn't experience in the game itself, because what they're doing to you is they're bringing the roller coaster cart into an area and then stopping, as you can see here. And you've got a counter in front of you. If you pull off 8 headshots in a row, they give you the special weapon, right? And then and you also I think you also get a score bonus, like maybe a multiplier or something. I don't know. You do. Okay, good. But there's a countdown. It's like starts at 80, where it's like you got to kill 80 of these zombies. And so you're just sitting there, desperately wanting the cart to move, and just killing wave after wave after wave after wave after wave until you finally bring that 80 down to 0. And I'll tell you, man, it's kind of exhausting. And so when I got to round 2, I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm on round 2 and I get to do the exact same thing all over again. Like my heart wasn't in it at that point. I was like, I've got to get ready for GAMESCAST, and like my arms are tired. So yeah. I'm curious to know how long I'm going to stick with this, but all of the improvements that they've made to the core gameplay mechanics has made me want to go back and play the single player stuff all over. Not the single player stuff, but not the Horde mode, the campaign all over again. Because I do feel as though the improvements that they've made on this make it worthy of being in the top 25 now. Like I'm going to be super happy to, get this in the top 25 instead of something like Zombieland. Because I think this is very deserving of it at this point. It's on sale now. I'm very happy that it's on sale, because I still think it launched like way too expensive. It was $40 at launch. Crazy. Especially when Rush of Blood was $20. I don't know. Whatever it's at now, like 27 or whatever, seems pretty decent to me.
Yeah, I sent a link on Discord. There's actually a PlayStation blog about it, where he goes into some detail. He linked me to earlier. He told me when he messaged me earlier that it's an infinite mode, so I assume it means it just keeps going and going. So I don't know if eventually it goes around the same environments. I'm curious, but it does say on the blog here. So how far can you make it? Do you possess the skills to enter Horde mode? No pressure, but the studio record is 21 floors. I mean, that is impressive.
Yeah, no pressure.
Even better, this new addition to the game is free with Switchback VR's base game, a game that puts you through your own personal nightmare. Talks about it. On this sinister horror horde mode, you are being dragged right back down to hell. You'll be confronted by swarms of enemies. In this new nightmarish mode, complete each room to get increasingly harder enemies and survive attacks from all manner of hideous apparitions straight from the depths of hell. We get it. You're all adrenaline junkies and love the drops in Rush of Blood. So our new horde mode, we have really pushed this to extreme levels. We have certainly tested the boundaries of how big we can make these drops and how much speed we can add to the cart. So hold on tight. Your journey between each room is about to be G-fueled. I mean, the fact they even reference Rush of Blood in this PlayStation blog, I think is awesome. There is a lot of passion here for it. But something else that's in it that I haven't got to, but I believe AJ did, is a new challenge has been introduced in Horde mode where blinking has become even more deadly. Fight off swarms of horrific sailors, demon dogs, and masked mannequins with new enemies appearing as you blink. Yep. Keep your eyes open or your death will be quick.
Listen, we need to talk about this because I got to this point. I didn't realize that.
You did?
I didn't realize that I'd made it further than you. So yeah, they bring you into that kind of dining room area that you recognize from the campaign, and they stop you right there, and you're just killing bad guys. You're just killing, the regular zombie types, and then eventually, naturally, you blink because that's what eyes do without you thinking about it. And so, and what's great is that without even warning you, when you blink, then those guys are there. The guys from that area, the don't blink area, which I think we need to talk about this a little bit. Those guys are fucking creepy. They seem a little too proud to be not wearing any clothes. Right, they're standing there and just being like, "This is my naked body, and if you blink again, I'm gonna come beat the fuck out of you." And I'm like, the whole thing just feels awkward to me, but also like super creepy. And so you blink, you get the counter going on there. So you only blink after you've killed all the other guys in the room. Then you blink and then take down those guys. But you don't blink again until you've taken them down because you don't want to risk them getting too close. Yeah. They finally found a way to make the don't blink rooms work because you have to monitor your own blinking and only let them appear between the waves of other enemies and then not blink again until you've taken them down. They've really figured this out. So, I mean, props to fucking Supermassive, man, because I thought it was a really huge missed opportunity in the campaign and they figured out how to make it work.
Yeah. It finally says here on the blog, be rewarded for your headshot streaks and gain the opportunity to unlock the most powerful gun from Switchback VR. So there was a purple box I went past. So I wonder if that is because of getting a certain score. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't like the purple gun. I just don't. I think it looks stupid. It fires slowly. It's powerful, but I just don't care about it. I'm sure it'd be helpful in the later levels because it's like a one-hit kill. But in the earlier levels, it's like, whatever. I'd just rather pull off these headshots.
Yeah. But my feeling is this is the first of more. And if this, again, like what I just said with Galaxy Kart, which seems like a weird, comparison to make. But if they get the core gameplay mechanics right, this is a game they can keep adding content to and, building on this universe. And again, credit where's credit's due. It was a massive disappointment at launch, but they've really worked hard at it, and the game looks incredible now.
Yeah, I think it looks great. Feels great. They really killed it with the haptics. Yeah. Very, very happy. And yeah, to your point, here we are mid-October, getting to be late October. This is not a game that was on my bingo card.
Right.
For spooky games that I was going to be playing. And I'm so happy that it ended up here. It was a surprise launch. There was no rumblings really about this leading up to launch. We'd heard that maybe, there was a tweet somewhere where they're like, we're not done with Switchback yet. And I was like, well, what does that mean? And so now we know what it means. And I think everybody in the chat agrees. We just hope they keep delivering DLC for this. I think Horde modes for all of the areas should be free DLC, especially considering the price tag associated with this. But we get to a certain point, and how cool would it be, Miles, if next Halloween we're still sitting here talking about Switchback, and because they delivered the next piece of paid DLC, where it's the fucking scariest roller coaster you've ever been on, right? Because they're obviously taking notes. They're listening to the community. They're listening to people like us and every other VR channel out there who said it wasn't even fucking scary. Like, it wasn't, Rush of Blood was terrifying. This wasn't. And so they know that people want that. So how cool would it be if there was just like this terrifying DLC for us to buy next year around this time, and we get to come back to this yet again? I would love that.
Amen.
Yep. Miles, another game that got an update this week. Crossfire Sierra Squad.
Oh yeah.
Now, dude, like, it's almost getting ridiculous how much these guys are listening to listening to the community. I've got no problem with it. I'm very, very happy that they're doing it. But it's absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen a developer go, "Oh, you want that? Okay. What about this? You want that? Okay, we'll do that for you too." You know, they from the get-go, they let us turn on realism mode right away. And they just kept adding and adding and adding and literally listening to the community and getting out these patches extremely fast. Again, another studio who just is on top of their shit. So, you know, people said they wanted full manual reloads. We kind of had a hybrid thing going on. You'd grab a magazine and you'd sort of just thrust it into where it belongs, and the game would take care of the rest. Now you can turn on full manual reloads and do it all yourself. I don't know, man. So you get? Oh, by the way, you get to look at me like trying to figure out all these weapons in this clip. Where me going, okay, so I've put the magazine in, and now I don't know what to do with my life. You know, like looking for little switches and pulling shit. It's like I'm like I don't. This is Pavlov all over again.
Now, did you do the test that I didn't get to do? Like, can you still pull the magazines out?
Can you pull them out?
Yeah, because we were saying before you can either just pull them out or you can press the X to drop them out.
Oh, you know what?
With
in every game that I've ever played, I've always, even with any game that even has manual reloads, I've always hit a button to drop it out. Like, that's something that feels very natural to me about that.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even try to pull them out manually.
That's cool. That's the same as me. I did exactly what you did. I went on the shooting range because I just wanted to try out the different weapons without the pressure of war. And my feeling is, I haven't played this game for a while after just absolutely rinsing it for the platinum. I just feel like I've done everything there is in this game. But I've always said if there's more content, I'll definitely go back to it. And when I mean more content, I mean more missions. They're definitely adding more content. But yeah, all the guns felt great for manual reloading. Something that I found interesting was when using the shotguns, and you and I spoke about this a bit earlier. One of the shotguns, after I put the shells in, I wasn't able to cock it, but then it did work on another one. But something they do in this game, which I wish a lot of other games did, was when it comes to reloading the shotgun. A lot of VR games, you're having to pick out a shell, load it in, pick another shell, load it in. Your character, with their massive hands, to be fair, they have massive hands in this game. Although I do think they patched it and made them slightly smaller. But they have a handful of shells and they're sort of holding them, and then they just like feed them in one at a time really, really quickly. And I was just like, that. I like that a lot. But yeah, it feels great. I felt like, I don't know if I would use this in the regular game on the hardest difficulties because there's just so much happening and it's an arcadey game. But I like choices and they've done it really, really well. But now they've done this, it has me thinking, oh, those little notches on the side to do, alternate fire, single fire or fully automatic. They need to make them clickable now. And it's the kind of thing I know if I suggest it, they'd go, oh, yeah, you want it? All right. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. It's just impressive. It's impressive. So, yeah, if you're still playing this game and you're someone that likes manual reloading, you got it. This is amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I'm really struggling with this one right here. This is great. I'm laughing at myself at this point. Like, I've already put all the shells in. I have no idea what to do at this point. And it's weird because it just doesn't work with your offhand. You have to switch hands and do this with your right hand, which I learned eventually right here, I think. I struggle to pick it up. Now I've picked it up and look how easy it is now. Fucking crazy. So it's not perfect, but man, for people who love this kind of stuff, I'm so happy it's here. I've loved Crossfire since it came out. And I just love these guys so much more for listening to all the suggestions from the community and implementing them so ridiculously fast. So
yeah, even from the get-go when the game first came out, they were just so on it. Because there was a lot of complaints about, I want to play realism mode, I don't have to unlock it. All right, yeah, we'll just unlock it for you.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. So I saw somebody in the chat asking if it's worth getting now. Jackie Chavez says, is Crossfire worth buying now? I think Crossfire is worth buying when it came out. We were actually shocked at the price tag it got because of the quality, because of the content. It was $30 at launch, and it was worth it as far as I was concerned day one. And now that they've just, let you play this however you feel like, absolutely worth it more than ever.
Nick asks, did they ever fix lefty mode? I mean, I'm not sure, but something I would say is their Discord, I think, has a really great submission form for feedback in that, and they're very responsive to it. They respond to pretty much everything, just to say whether it's a priority or not. So yeah.
All right, Miles. So that brings us to the seventh guest. Which I've been playing pretty steadily since Saturday, I think. I mean, I don't know what I expected, but I think I got the exact game that I expected, to be honest with you, because I was familiar with the game. I'd seen the PC original but never played it. And so I was about halfway through this game and said, you know what? I'm just going to watch a 2-hour video, watch a Let's Play, just watch somebody go through the entire thing. And that'll be good enough. I was about 30 minutes into it and said, fuck this. I'm going to play this game along with this video. And that way I'll get the full experience of, moving the cursor around and, actually interacting with the environments and doing all the puzzles myself, even though there's a video playing that's showing me the solutions. So I blasted through the game in about 2.5 hours, the original PC version. And I mean, this, for better or for worse, this is a proper update to that game. They did not add a ton of gameplay elements, but they did add a ton of puzzles. And it is very much the same of, hey, where do I go next? And once you're there, you solve a bunch of fucking puzzles. And then you go, where do I go next? And then you just solve a bunch of fucking puzzles. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that times have changed. Gameplay, what we expect from games have changed a bit. And so this is, I think, a great game. But I recommend that if you're picking it up, don't play it in long spurts. This isn't a game that you're going to want to play for 4 hours at a time, or maybe even 2 hours at a time. You're going to want to drop into this 45 minutes or so, solve a couple puzzles, and be like, all right, cool. I'll come back and I'll knock out a few more tomorrow. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I think it's a fantastic update to a game that really hasn't aged well at all. That needed an update. And yeah, really well done. I think they improved everything that they needed to, and except for maybe some of the what you're doing between the puzzles, and maybe even the puzzles themselves, all the added puzzles. I said in my review, I wish it was more environmental stuff going on, things that were maybe attached to the mansion itself. Maybe do things in different rooms in order to actually unlock different rooms. It doesn't feel terribly organic, I guess is what I'm trying to say. In a game like Red Matter 2, those puzzles make sense, and they make sense in that world. This way less so, and they explain it away narratively later in the game. But just because somebody goes, oh, and this is why you've been doing the thing for the last 3 hours, doesn't make it any better. It's like you've still had to do that for the last 3 hours, and it didn't make any sense for 3 hours. So I think they did a fantastic job, but there were, if I was redesigning this game, I think there would have been other changes I would have made.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the first puzzle room you go into, the dining room, I'm not going to give too many spoilers here, but you do have to pick up a plate from the table. So it's that is an environmental part of it. And it's and that's it. They're like, yeah, we tick that off and then we don't have to really do much more of it. But because you're right, it just feels like a lot of puzzle rooms with dressing. It's an environment around in which there are 3 individual puzzles, but then understand. Again, I've not got that far in the game. I'm about an hour in. I've done about four rooms, but it's, you know, it's clear when you go in, you're like, I've got to find 3 different puzzles. Although you've said in the review there are sometimes you didn't even know what the third puzzle was. My thoughts on this are, I love the art style. I think the art style is absolutely gorgeous. Everything from the wallpaper, the way it's scrappy on the walls, to you having a flashlight, and when you shine it on pictures, you can see alternate versions, which are really creepy. And I think that's really, really great. The volumetric holograms of the actors, I think is really cool. It's a shame that they disappear if you go any too close to them, because it's just like, I just want to see how real they look. But then there's just a lot of small things that kind of bothered me, which I noticed a lot right at the start. So when you first approach the house, the doors open and there's a blinding green light, and it was amazing. But then it goes to black, and then you're inside the house. For me, that was a big moment, and I don't know if it's because I walked forward and like triggered it, but it felt like, no, that's a big moment. That you should have been able to take that in, maybe walk towards the light. It gets lighter and lighter, and then it's bright white, and then it loads inside. Like I just thought that was a missed opportunity. And then something else you mentioned in your review was about like the contrast. There's a lot of fog in this game, inside and out, but it just feels there's this like whitewash. The blacks aren't as dark as I feel they could be, and I think the resolution could definitely be punched up a bit.
A notch. Like, you certainly don't get into this game and go, oh, it's blurry, but oh no, for a game like this. And I don't know how much the spirit lantern has to do with it. You know, as you shine that around and you see the mansion kind of in its prime versus covered in dirt and grime and everything. I don't know if having to have sort of 2 rooms, is it rendering 2 rooms at once? Because you do, as you solve these puzzles, like you're seeing the other version of the room come to life. Right. And you're like, oh, sweet. And so is that hiding just under the surface the entire time? And this lantern is removing that, that veneer from it and seeing what the other point. So maybe it's not actually possible for it to run at a higher resolution. The game itself looks nice, but I think there might be something keeping it from potentially being even better. I would ask you a question though, Miles. This game isn't scary. It's certainly set inside of a spooky mansion, but there's nothing scary about it whatsoever. Do you think that they did this intentionally and kind of grayed out everything and sort of just made it, if there was high contrast here, then there would be dark areas, where you maybe you can't see the entire room because a corner is like pitch black. My feeling is that they probably experimented with a higher contrast and said, ooh, this just makes it look too scary. And like, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to make a horror game. Do you think that's possible, or am I just making up stories there?
No, for sure, because the game I would definitely draw contrast to with the contrast is the Room VR. Yeah. The Room VR, when I was playing that, I was very unnerved. When you're in these rooms, you're just like, what is this place? There's a real sense of being isolated in this place by yourself, like the coldness of the rooms where the sarcophagus is, and in the first one, you don't really get it with this. Even though there's some crazy stuff that happens. Like it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. But there's a bit where one of the people, some blood just falls to the floor. Like, that's a pretty dramatic thing. But when it happened, I was just like, oh, that just happened. Maybe I've been tainted by some other VR experiences and stuff recently. But yeah, and I'm fine with that. It feels like a Halloween adventure. There's it reminded me a lot of, and it's a very long distant memory, like way over 20 years for me. But what's the Disney in Florida called? Is that Disneyland or Disney World? It's okay, Disney World. Yep. So there was the Tower of Terror or Terror Tower in MGM Studios, which was this big hotel building, and you go in it and there's an elevator and it drops. I have amazing memories of that, and it terrified me as a kid because it was the Twilight Zone. And when you were in there, there were holograms of people talking about stuff. There was like imagery of like window mirrors smashing. And it was a very old building. And for me, it just felt like I was in a Disney experience. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I felt like I was in some kind of theme park haunted house with puzzles to do, and I thought that was great. So yeah, I've enjoyed what I've played so far. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. When it comes to the puzzles themselves, it's difficult because different people have different train of thoughts, and for me, you collect coins, as you mentioned in the review, and the coins you use for hints. But for me, when it comes to the hints, you get 3 hints per puzzle.
2 free ones, and then you spend the coin. So,
is that how it works?
Yeah,
I was wondering about that. I didn't. Okay, so you only use it for the 3rd one.
And the first hint is like, hey, there's a puzzle here. It doesn't tell you anything. And then the second one, unfortunately, can be way too revealing, and just basically give you the answer. Which is, I like that there's a tiered hint system. I just don't think it's done well for every puzzle.
Yeah, I found that it was too much of a pendulum swing. Either hints were completely unhelpful, stating the obvious, or it swung too far the other way. And then, as you mentioned in the review, the one that you pay the coin for solves the puzzle. So there's no learning. So I'll tell you one of the puzzles that I struggled with, and I'm not going to go into detail of anything that could spoil it because I don't know how it was solved. But there was one where you were at this kind of typewriter, but with numbers on it, but some of the buttons are missing, and you have to type certain numbers, and each column adds up to the numbers that you want. Mm-hmm. But there are some that are missing. I had to use a coin on that, and it solved it. I still have no idea how that's meant to be solved.
Yeah.
And I'm happy for us to chat afterwards if you've done it or someone else has done it. Did you complete it? Do you know how to do it?
Yep.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
I've got the answer on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody.
Yeah, that's good. That's cool. I'll ask you afterwards.
And so this is the great part. You drive me crazy, Miles, because like you always... Every time I watch you play a game, every time I catch up with you after you've played a game, you always get through it faster than I did. You always make progress better than me. You always do something that I didn't expect. I've said it before, during your Propagation live stream, I was watching you, and there's this crazy tense moment in the game where like I had to be crazy stealthy, and I was like going, sneaking back and forth between the zombies' back to like find clues to answer a puzzle. You walk into the room and you're like, oh, fuck that guy. And you kill him. And then you just walk around and just, like, whatever, just grabbing the hint, whatever. Oh, here's the hint over here. Yeah. Oh, here's the solution. Done. Now,
holding in the worst anxiety of just like, I've got to get out of here. Right. I've got to do this so quick. That's what I've learned now. My worst thing I know this is not the conversation, but I just want to say, the thing that eats my brain alive when it comes to horror games is dread and impending doom. And all that comes from me standing there. What's outside the laundry door? I'm going to push it open. There's something there. In Resident Evil 7, spent 10 minutes in that laundry room. Yep. I have learned the way I need to do things is I need to keep moving, because then I fight. If something's going to jump out, it's going to jump out. Otherwise, the longer I leave it, the longer the anxiety eats me alive. So that's why I play that way now. Sorry.
Bat Chicken says Miles is just an epic gamer. It's too easy for him. Continuing my complaints about the way you play games, you finished Red Matter on your first playthrough ever, in under 2 hours, which I think it took me 4 or 5. And then you're telling me you're on like the 4th puzzle room in the 7th guest. And how long did you play for?
I can't remember. I think my live stream went on for maybe an hour and 15 or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like you're making progress much faster than I did, and so I'm like, I'm always a little baffled.
But in hindsight, there were a few times in the puzzles where I straight away I was like, I've stumbled into that really quickly. Like I clearly did that puzzle way quicker than intended. And again, it's just by chance. But then if there wasn't the coin, I would have been stuck on that number punching thing way longer. It's interesting, but I think puzzles, there's a lot of it is chance. It's trial and error, and I got very lucky. I tried to avoid even using the hint system because I found out way too fast that like, it's too revealing. So I spent a lot of time just going, what about this? What about this? What about this? I mean, if you look at my
7+8 hours of footage, whatever it was, it's a lot of the same shit. Like I'm just standing in a room going in circles, like just saying, okay, let me try this puzzle over here for a little bit. Okay, let me get back to that puzzle. Like I took my time and did my absolute best to not use the hint system or use the coins. And
right.
Yeah. And it was exhausting.
And to be fair, that is how I'm going to continue playing it now. Mm-hmm. It was just a different dynamic when on a live stream. And I remember you were telling me on one of the early ones with the pudding holder or something, I was like, I know how to do this, but I don't want to do a live stream of like 15 minutes of just attempting the same thing again and again. And you were like, no, do it. I'm putting a pizza on. Or like, and other people in the room were like, yeah, we want to see you struggle. So I am going to be playing it without doing hints in future and seeing how I get on.
I will say, I saw somebody in the chat, I think it was Marcus McIntyre, ask if the solution to the puzzle that you were talking about involved going to find the missing keys, the missing buttons, like, asking if there were fetch quests. And in fact, there's no fetch quest in this game because you don't have an inventory system. And I feel like, again, that was a bit of a missed opportunity, because then you could have integrated these rooms together somehow and made them feel more connected by saying, walking into one room and going, oh my God, I need that over in this room, and like grab it and throw it in your inventory and bring it back. And unfortunately, it's just, it feels the whole thing is very static, feels very, I don't know, sterile or something, like when it comes to puzzle solving, because you walk into a room and everything you need to solve, all the puzzles are in that room. And that's great from somebody like me who grew up with PTSD after playing like Codename Iceman on PC, which is an old Sierra Online game, where like you had to pick something up on the beach in the first 45 minutes of the game, and then you don't find out that you needed that shit until 8 hours into the game, and there's no way to get back. You just have to start all over. Like, for people like me who grew up with that kind of shit, like, there's something reassuring about this, where you're like, everything I need is right here in front of me. But at the same time, I feel like they didn't take full advantage of what they could have done in the Seventh Guest remake. And
on the flip side, it was annoying when you were in a room and there were different items that you unlock that you then use for something, and I kept picking them up and putting them down, and then they spawn back to where they are. Like, that would have been cool for an inventory system as well, where it's like, I just want to keep them here.
Well, the other thing is, just like that, if you leave a room when you're halfway through a puzzle and then come back, that puzzle is started all over again. Like, you were...
Wow, is that... Yeah. Okay, I wish I'd known that, because one of the puzzles, without getting specifics, is where you got all the coffins and you got to move them around.
Oh god, I think I spent a half an hour just fucking around with that. Yeah,
I wanted to reset it, and I was like, "How do I reset this?" I should have left and come back in.
Yeah. So good and bad then, because then you know how to reset it. But yeah, and I don't know when it resets. I don't know if you can just walk out into the hallway and then come back in and it resets, or if like you have to go to a completely other puzzle room. But
you just reminded me, actually, in terms of the graphics and stuff, when we're talking about resolution, looking up close to like notes and stuff, crystal clear. Like, when looking up close to things, the resolution is really good. It's just the general looking around the room. Again, it might not be resolution, just having like the contrast might have been better. It's just that washed out look. Yeah. But the other aspect was when you get to a door, it took me a while till I realised this. Knowing what door to go to next, I just kept, that's locked. You've got smoke coming out the ones that you need to go to next, right? Coming out the sides? Or is that not always the case?
I don't think it's always the case. I feel like some locked doors have the animated smoke as well.
Okay, cool.
But maybe...
But the smoke... Yeah. The smoke is it's very flat. You can tell it's just like a sheet. It doesn't feel like they do all the volumetrics of like the holograms, and then the smoke are just like these flat lines. And there's just a few moments like that. I feel it could have been better, but I think your score was fair. I feel good. It's a good game. Yeah. Good game. Definitely gonna play it until the end. But then I think. That's probably just how I feel about puzzle games generally. Like, some people were asking me on the stream, like, am I into puzzle games? Because they're saying, I'm not into puzzle games. I'm not sure I'm going to play this. Yeah. And it's like, I've always played puzzle games time to time, but I wouldn't say they're my go-to. But I think they're a nice break of tone from a lot of other VR experiences. Just having something like escape rooms and aspects like that. I think it could be fun.
Yeah. Yep. I saw Marcus McIntyre say this sounds very old school, and I feel like it is. I feel like this is a very old school game, and I'm very happy with the things that Vertigo Games updated about the game. There were, going through the old version, there were scenes that sort of didn't make sense, or they did, but they could have been done better. And I think they did all of those things better here. They got rid of some shit that, like, was really annoying in the PC original. They got rid of the stuff that didn't work, and they added a bunch of stuff that did work. If you've never played the original, each room only had one puzzle in it. And so, the fact that they just shoved a ton more puzzles in there, and, they're all new. I think there's only one puzzle that's like basically copied and pasted from the original one. That's the chessboard. And that is it. The one with all the queens. I think the rest of them are brand new. So, keep in mind, guys, 7.8 doesn't mean I didn't like it. In fact, I liked it quite a bit, but I just wish that there was, I just wish that they had gone a few steps further. That's all. And in all fairness, like, I think that this might be, staying with the kind of theme and the format and the formula of the original. This might be just as far as they possibly could have gone with it, and still retain the seventh guest feel. And so I kind of don't even blame them for the choices that they made. This is as far as you can go with it. If you look back, 'cause it was funny because somebody was posting original reviews of the seventh guest, the old PC CD-ROM version, on our Discord in general today, and it got bad reviews. Like, people remember this game fondly, but it didn't review well, and for lots of good reasons. It wasn't interactive, and you basically were just playing movie files, going from room to room, and so I totally understand that. And just like this game, it was just a collection of puzzles for the most part, with a little bit of story in between. And so, how much can you possibly change and still retain the essence of the seventh guest? And I think they probably changed about as much as they could and improved it as much as they could, and ended up with this. And I'm actually really happy with how it ended up.
I don't like how you hold the lantern. That's the other thing I wanted to say.
You have the weirdest complaints sometimes.
You hold it at the side. I want to hold it on top, like in the movies where they do that. A bit more like.
I mean, you're holding it like a flashlight. I'm sorry, like a torch. You're holding it like you would a torch.
All right. I'm just saying it upset me. It upset me.
I mean, if we can get real nitpicky here and talk about shit I didn't even talk about in the reviews, like how when you hit R2 to bring up the lantern, it takes a half a second for it to pop up.
Or when
it's
not a real lantern, dude. You have to spawn it into existence.
Right, it's a spirit lantern. How dare I complain about it taking a second to show up?
It's not your local. Go down to what do you have over there? Home Depot or whatever it is. Yeah. What else? It's a spirit lantern, man. Anyway, go on. Next nitpick.
I mean, maybe these are spirit doorknobs as well. But every time you open a door,
are terrible.
But they're not terrible. You just have to grab onto the handle, and it's not going to let you open the door for a second. And then you turn. You open it up.
Maybe they are spirit. Yeah, but also like wardrobes, anything like you're trying to grab it. I'm trying to grab it, and I agree. Door physics. I was not impressed with.
Yeah.
Big letdown. Door physics.
I mean. I've certainly played other VR games where I try to open a door and I accidentally slam it in my own face, where it acts wonky. This works. It's just there's a delay on some things, and opening doors is one of those. And it makes me go, like, is it loading the next room?
Right.
Doing a Dead Space thing where it's taking a while to open that lock because it's loading the next area. And I feel like maybe, but it's because it's the PS5, it's kind of happening all snappy like. I don't know how this loads on the Quest. Maybe it takes even longer to open doors on the Quest.
Yeah. It's an old house.
So doors open slower in old houses, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are things I didn't know. These are things I didn't know.
Back in the old days.
Okay.
Back in the old days, doors were very slow.
You kids don't know how good you have it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we got some tips to get caught up on here. We got Grandpa's Barbecue or Game Cat with the Australian $5 tip says, Switchback, still on my wish list. After what you're saying now, I'm now prepared to finally buy, especially at the current 30% off. Yeah, I mean, would I like it to be a little bit cheaper? Sure. Am I really happy with? Am I much happier with the game now? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think? 30% off. Time to buy it, Miles.
Yeah. It's good. Sounds good.
Pietrek F with the 12 plantains says, "Is the seventh guest better than the Room VR or Dark Matter?" Miles, as much as I want to hear your opinion on this, I want to preface your opinion that I haven't heard yet by saying, until you finish this game, I don't think you're able to say.
Oh, no, I don't think so either. Well, all I was going to say was my impression, having not got far in this game, is like the room aesthetically looks better, but there seems to be a lot more content on this. But
yeah, this has more things to collect. I mean, you're obviously going through and collecting the staff coins that allow you to solve the puzzles, but also finding all the staff coins is a sort of a collectible thing in its own. Picking up all the photographs that you can find, and of course, there's story pages that deliver the narrative. All this stuff is are collectibles to find. So there's more stuff in that regard to do than the Room VR. And also, this game lets you walk around freely, full locomotion. Lets you do the whole thing. This is what I wanted in the Room VR. It's like, let me figure out where the puzzles are, and just trust me that I don't need node-to-node teleportation in the Room VR. I want to see how that works. And so when I first started the Seventh Guest, 100%, I thought this was going to be a better game than the Room VR Dark Matter. And then ultimately, I mean, as you can see by my scores, I don't believe it was. I think the Room VR tells a better story. I think the Room VR's puzzles are infinitely better. And even though it's, there's less content in the room, I do think it's a better game. Yeah. And Miles, please keep me posted as you progress through the game if you agree with me, obviously.
Yeah.
It ends on an interesting note. I'll say that. The thing that you're doing at the very end of the game is just like, where the fuck did this come from? And it's
does the spirit lantern turn into a regular lantern so it's always there when you need it?
Nope, but you're not far off. You'll see what I mean when you get there. Fifth, with the Australian $5 tip, says Miles the Destroyer was his tennis name.
It was.
You don't let me in on inside jokes. I had no idea.
It was actually that when we did the full player, it was like, choose your tennis name. I just put Miles the Destroyer, and it actually calls Miles T Destroyer or Destroy. It doesn't fit it all in.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was.
And I do destroy T because I'm British. People.
Do you guys play horror games with the music off and just sound effects? For the most part, Fifth, I play every game the way that it was designed and delivered to me. This is the same reason I don't fuck around with mods. I don't care about mods because I don't care about anything that the developers didn't intend. I care about the game that they wanted me to play, and that means if they made it with music, if they made it with sound effects, if they made it with voice acting, great. All that shit's going to be on. The only thing I turn off is subtitles. But I do know where you're coming from, Fifth. I'm trying to remember the game that I turned the music off on. There's a horror game that all the cats were like, "Oh no, you got to play this again with the music off because it's way scarier." I forget what it was, but I was like, "Oh yeah, okay," and I'll do that the second time around. But first time around, if there's music, I want to hear it.
There's a bit in Propagation Paradise Hotel. I'm not going to say anything specific, but I was in a room and I hear music and I go, "Oh, music's starting," and then there was a zombie bursting through the door. I mean, you have no idea where I'm talking in the game because that could be any time. But the point was I was there ready for it because of the music. Whereas I can imagine if there was no music there, God, that would have killed me way more because I would have gone right up to the door and then it would have just, oh man. Yeah.
To answer one of my earlier questions in the show, because you were talking about you've done 90 PSVR2 live streams, right?
Oh, yeah.
Our good buddy Rypop has sent me a text and said I've reviewed 47 PSVR2 games.
That's incredible.
That can't be right. That's so many games, and each one takes an eternity to do. 47 is bonkers. I'm glad I'm making that much of an indent. much of a dent.
Hit the like button, subscribe, support this channel, become a member if you can. This is the real deal. Brian Paul, be Paul, be Paul, be Paul, be Paul.
Dan Keeper in the chat says, Brian, you're not even mod curious. In my college days I was, but that was just a phase. We've also got a tip from Super Cool Video Bro with the $2. He says, could Resident Evil 4 have a better resolution and frame rate than Village?
It could.
I mean, anything's possible. But just remember the amount of detail that are in those games when you're bringing something over from the flat screen PlayStation 5 into VR. There's just so much more detail in a world like Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4 than you would get in a game that was designed for VR. And so, I understand compromises have to be made. But Capcom are fucking geniuses, man. The fact that they had Village ready for launch, the fact that they had they did such an amazing job with Resident Evil 7 on PSVR 1. It would be awesome to see them take another step forward and say, look, we figured out more shit, and look how much better 4 looks than 7 or 8. So it's possible, but I have no idea. Get in my belly, the Game Cat Psycho. Excuse me, get in my belly, the Game Psycho. With a $10 tip says, a little late to the show, but hey, cats. And then he sends a ton of emojis. They're cats and happy faces and all sorts of good stuff.
Happy cats. Happy cats.
Yep. Miles, I think that brings us to 20 questions. You ready for this shit?
Let's do it. You got the game?
I do. It's my turn to host this. So everybody in the chat, don't forget. Was that a ghost, or just are you excited about 20 questions? I couldn't quite.
Wait, that wasn't me. That was, I don't know. Halloween.
And here I thought they were gone. All right, man. So I've got a game picked out. Remember, everybody in the chat, help Miles out. This game is way harder than you think it is. It's actually really easy from your living room or from your comfort of your wherever you're watching this, the subway or wherever you might be. When you're on the spot, it's way harder. I'm thinking of a PSVR 1 game or PSVR 2 game, and it's you guys' job and Miles to ask 20 yes or no questions with only 6 minutes on the clock and figure out what it is. So suggest good questions to him and help him out. You ready for this?
Chat is hilarious. The chat is hilarious.
What's going on in the chat? What did I miss?
Just what they're saying the noise could be. It's not read.
Jesus. Wow. Okay. All right. You ready?
No, but let's do it.
All right. On your mark, get Des. Go.
Does this game have multiplayer?
No.
No multiplayer. Have they gone for a realistic aesthetic? Are they going for realism, Brian?
No.
Madness.
You all right? You can make it? Do I need to pause the timer?
I will. No, we're good.
It's good because I can't pause the timer.
This is not a real question, but he says, does it have a weird way for holding a lantern? That would be a power move if the answer was yes. But yeah. Sorry. Is it a PSVR2 only game?
No.
No, not okay.
I love that question because what have you figured out from that?
Nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But yeah. I love them for it. Do you shoot guns in this? As in shoot out of guns, not actually shooting guns. I mean, you never do that anyway. You shoot the person, not the gun. But do you shoot guns?
Yeah, we'll go with that. Gun-onic, gun-esque. Okay. Sure.
You shoot gun-esques. Okay.
Yep.
I love the chat. I love the chat today.
I love the chat every day.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. It's true. Oh man, sorry. Is it a horror game?
No, that's 5.
Not horror.
Yep.
Is it a military game?
Nope. That's 6.
No. Is it? Are you playing against the clock? Is that? Are
no,
you?
No.
Okay. Is it a popular IP? Is it based on a popular IP? Sorry.
No, it's not based on. It's not based on some other IP.
Oh god, we got a lot of knots here, guys. Not multiplayer, not going for realism, not PSVR2 only. It does shoot gun-esques. Not horror, not military, not against the clock, not based on any popular IP. Oh man. There's a lot of talk about End Dreams. Was it it wasn't developed by End Dreams, was it?
It was not developed by End Dreams.
No. Is it on PSVR2?
It is not on PSVR2. That is 10.
Right, so it's a PSVR game. Great. That really narrows it down. Is it a music game?
Nope. No, it's not.
Oh man. Would it be a top 25 contender for PSVR?
So if like you, me, and the rest of the crew were sitting down making a list of top 25 PSVR games,
I'm talking about the last few years you've done top 20s or lists. Would it have ever been a contender during?
Would it have ever been a contender? I'm sure.
Okay. Man, this is tough. I guess I'll go back to these questions. Does it have full locomotion?
It's a tough question to answer, but I think in the strictest sense, the answer is no.
Okay.
That's one of those that answer will make more sense once you know what the game is, obviously.
Are you in a vehicle?
Nope, you're not.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Everything I'm just going from something like Wolfenstein, all this stuff, but it's like not a popular IP, as in the game that we're guessing. Does it have a sequel?
Yes. Yes, it does. That's 15 miles.
Has a sequel. Crisis Brigade, it won't be. Because it's I guess it doesn't count as military. And also you're shooting guns. You are shooting guns, but it's kind of, it's not right out guns. Super Hot is proper guns, I would say. Did it have a physical release?
Yes, it did.
Had a physical release.
You're out of time, but I'm going to give you. I'll let you finish this up because you're almost there.
Oh my god! Why does everyone see Crisis Brigade? It's not. You use guns for that.
Yeah, I'm paying too much attention to the chat. This happens to me too. Sometimes they're super helpful, and sometimes they get caught up on one thing.
That's it.
Yeah.
Would it be? Oh man, I can't even remember this. I'm just going to go with one of the things I saw in the chat.
Yep.
It's not a Squire. Was it a Squire? A Squire VR?
I don't even know what you just said. Is it what?
Oh, sorry, Aspire, Squire, Aspire,
Aspire
1, wasn't it? Yeah, was it VR operative?
This is your guess? Because if you guess wrong, you lose.
And if I don't guess, I lose.
I mean, you still had a couple more questions. I was going to let you use them up.
Nah.
Okay.
I mean,
so is that your guess? That's your final guess, Aspire 1?
It's wrong, I know.
All right, you guys. A relatively early game for PSVR 1. It was coming out in the year 2018 by Arvory Immersive Entertainment and our good friend Anna Ribeiro. Pixel ripped 1989.
I never liked Anna or that game.
Yeah. Yep. It did indeed have a sequel. In fact, had 2 sequels. This has not come out on PSVR 2. We are waiting for a. They did a decent job with 95, so I'm really hoping that we get a port of 89 as well, because 89 is still my favorite. There's no locomotion technically because your in-game character isn't moving around in VR, but That's your true. Character on the 2D Game Boy game is. So that was a tough question to answer. Pixel ripped, 1989.
Double M Gaming, you're asking weird questions, Miles, after asking, are there vehicles in it? I did ask that.
Yep.
So, back off, man. It's all good. Pixel Rip 1995. I did a Let's Play last weekend. The PSVR2 version. Man, love it. Always said it's my favourite of the trilogy, and having gone back into it, I love it even more. It's just it's not just the fact that it reflects my growing up of the games that I played, but it's the dynamics with the parents of this is gonna mess up your mind, and the constant arguments, and like the dad's trying to oh, don't worry, you can play this sort of stuff. All those elements are just really cool. And like there's a mission where you're in the video game store, and I just remember as a kid going to Blockbusters and spending ages deciding what game to rent, because you could complete a PlayStation game like over a weekend, and you're having to play 2 different games and get the power up in one to then do it to the other, and then it starts bleeding in. Just stuff like that is amazing. Like
95 did a lot of great things, and I think it had a little bit more variety than 89, but 89 will still always be my favorite. Something about it being the original I loved. I loved the way that it did certain things, and honestly, I think this, if I got some PSVR 2, then it would be my favorite of the trilogy. I think 95 might be my favorite right now, just because like it's convenient to play. It feels really good to play with the Sense controllers. Everything like works really well. I didn't like having to lower my camera and using my DualShock 4. The light tracking, I felt like with DualShock 4 never was as good as the Move controllers were. And so, I'd like to be able to play this with the Sense controllers. Arvory, get on that shit, because I feel like I would vote for this in a top 25 list. I might not vote for 95, but I would vote for this.
Yeah, that's fair.
Good stuff. Let's make sure we didn't forget anything before we call it a day. We've got, you know what? Switch over here. Boom. This shit makes everything so much easier. Ben L, congratulations on making it to the level 3 membership. We appreciate you so very much. Get in my belly, Game Psycho with $10 tip. Just has a little Chiba dog laughing hysterically. I think he's laughing at you, Miles, for not getting it. I think that's what he's doing.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm gonna have to go to bed with this, so fine.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The shame.
Miles, thanks for being here today. Obviously, it's really nice to have co-hosts that talk to each other and help each other out. Wes needed the night off. We should be seeing him on Friday, and so he asked Miles to switch, and you very graciously did. And basically,
he helped me out weeks ago when I was in the States. So as you say, like we're all family. We all help each other out. It's always good, and Game Cats are wonderful in the chat always. So
and you altered your entire day. And got a live stream of the 7th guest in, so you were able to talk about it tonight. And you had a busy day on top of everything else you were doing, so we definitely appreciate it, man. Made a huge difference. Thank you.
I know this is blasphemy, but tomorrow I get the collector's edition of Spider-Man 2. I know I can't talk about flat screen, but
I mean, you can talk about whatever you want to, man. Like,
I'm excited. Spider-Man 2, man, but Insomniac, they need to do a VR game of some kind. I mean, they are the thing about Spider-Man 2 is Insomniac, from what I've seen, there's a bit that you just got to check out in the trailers where they select where you want on the map you want to fast travel, and it goes fast traveling, and then it zooms into the map and across, and you're in. Yeah. It's like seamless, and Spider-Man swinging in. The fact that Insomniac games are so good with pushing the tech, we need to see them do it with VR. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, Insomniac is already a well-respected VR developer, and so the fact that they haven't been making PSVR2 games yet, mind-boggling. Especially after the acquisition. That said, we have no idea what any studios are working on. Somebody got mad at me for being disappointed with the output that we've gotten on PlayStation 5 since launch. In terms of flat screen games, and man, I just want to reiterate one thing. If you love games like God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West, and you like these games, then I am super happy that you've got the Sony that you want, because they are delivering great content. Unfortunately for me, this is the kind of stuff, and I think those games are great. I really do. I just have zero desire to play them anymore. Like, I want to play VR games, and I basically want to play retro games. And there's very few modern games that I want to play that aren't VR. And so, I got called like a fake ass Sony fan or something like that for not appreciating this stuff. But you guys have to remember that I got bored early on in the PlayStation 4 generation and was ready to kind of like move on to a different hobby. Like, video games just for the first time in 40 years weren't doing it for me. And then VR came along and saved my hobby. And so I totally respect the fact that Sony's making probably not a whole lot of money on PlayStation VR2, but they brought it to us anyway. And so I'm a huge Sony fan for all of the decades of great gaming from PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 that I absolutely loved. And then, in the PlayStation 4 generation, they brought out PSVR 1. So like, they've always had something to keep me around, and I absolutely respect them for that. So
yeah, man,
I know not everybody knows that story, but but that's my relationship with Sony. Although it's a very unrequited relationship these days. That said, I just I feel like flat screen AAA games are just exhausting at this point. And so like Spider-Man, I couldn't care less, but I'm super happy for everyone who's getting it and is really excited about it. I just pre-ordered Super Mario Wonder.
Nice.
Like, that's the new game I'm going to be playing this weekend. So, we're all different. Awesome. Man. We're all different.
No, for sure. And funnily enough, this is going to be a real test, because it's a game that I've got the collector's edition because I wanted the statue behind me. Massive Spider-Man fan, Insomniac fan. Super hyped for this game. I know the quality is going to be amazing, but how will I feel when I play it, when I know I could be diving into these VR games? There's a reason I say that was Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok. I got 10 hours into that game, and then it stayed in my disk drive for 100 days untouched because of VR. And that was when I was renting it. I sent it back. Callisto Protocol was the same. Obviously, that's now a free PlayStation Plus game. A lot of my friends play Fortnite and keep asking me to come back and play it. I don't really do that anymore. Just the dynamics have changed. And so the way I am approaching this weekend is I'm going to try and blitz through as much of Spider-Man 2 as I can, because I worry if I don't make massive headway that weekend or even complete it, 1 weekend later, 2 weekend later, I'll already have moved on because of all this VR stuff that's coming out. So I'm definitely a different gamer than I was a year ago. So it'll be interesting to see.
I apologize for that, Miles. This is definitely all my fault.
So no, I love it, man. VR is fucking special, and it's I feel very lucky to get to play all the different games, and games that I wouldn't even consider putting money to, but luckily we get the opportunity to review and test games, and there are a lot of small and hidden titles that I wouldn't ever consider that are interesting experiences. So yeah, I love it.
Getting back to 20 questions just real briefly, Looper was in the chat reminding us that This is the first time Pixel Rip 1989 has ever been chosen for a 20 questions game.
Wow.
95 was chosen once before. And so I love when that happens because I don't check the records. Looper is the official 20 questions records keeper, has kept track of every single 20 questions game we've ever played, who the winner is, what the game was, and how many questions it took, of course. And of course, who the participants were. But it's always nice when I accidentally pick a game that's never been picked before because we've done a million of these games. But with that out of the way, it is time to end the show. Thank you to everybody who helps the channel run, from all my moderators, everybody. Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry does the timestamps. We got Rypop who uploads this on podcast services. We got the police out here in Worcester, Massachusetts, constantly delivering sirens on my end. These people are fucking important, man. Constant cameos in every single goddamn episode. Oh, and there they are again. We also got everybody who supports the channel financially over on patreon.com/withoutparole and right here by being members, and everybody who tips during the show. You guys don't know how much that means. You're keeping the channel alive. You're keeping this channel running. It means the world to me. We're very close to 100K. I can't believe it. It's pretty fucking crazy. So thank you to everybody who tips during the show. Thanks to everybody who keeps us entertained while we try to keep you entertained. Thanks to everybody who participates during 20 questions. And of course, everybody who sits back, watches the show, doesn't say a goddamn word. We know you're out there. We love you just as much. Happy Friday, Miles.
Happy for Wednesday, Brian. Have a good week, Hell.
It's totally Wednesday. Let's go. Miles, I hope you don't mind, but we're gonna do clip of the week on Friday.
Oh no, I want that. I want that to happen.
I don't have one prepared, and I've heard through the grapevine that we may have a very special one for the upcoming Walkabout DLC that's dropping, I believe, tomorrow. So, yep. So stay tuned on Friday for clip of the week.
When's the new Walkabout? Tomorrow?
I believe it's tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow the night. Yeah, I don't know, man. My brain's fried. I don't know when anything's happening. But yeah, yep.
Awesome.
I think Walkabout's tomorrow. And God, what else is happening this week? Isn't there something else happening? Oh, dude, the Pistol Whip DLC dropped for the third one in the collection, and we didn't even cover it today because we had so much other stuff to talk about. You and I have covered the last two. But
and also, I just have to say a massive thank you.
Yeah,
I did it. 48,000
you hit 48
subscribers.
Wait, 48,007?
Yeah, it's a new record.
Wow.
Which means the wheels are about to come off and it's going to plummet 4,000 subscribers overnight.
Well, Miles, despite the fact that I asked everyone to unsubscribe and give me a little more time before we hit 100K, 15 people subscribed during the show. So thank you all very much, you guys. You're way better. You're a way better group of friends and way better group of family and way better everything than I deserve. So thank you so much. We love you all. Have a wonderful. I want to keep saying Friday. I was going to say have a wonderful weekend, but enjoy your night. We'll see you on Friday.